we'll talk about mindset first, right? Because if you're gonna be in business for yourself, you have to have the mindset of a winner. You really have to have the mindset of a killer, right? And so we look at the lion, right? The lion is the king of the jungle. But if you kind of look at the facts surrounding the lion, there's no real logical reason why the lion should be the king of the jungle. Because the lion is not the biggest animal in the jungle, right? That's the elephant. It's not the fastest animal in the jungle, right? That's the cheetah. And it's not the smartest animal in the jungle, because that's the orangutan. But yet the lion is the king of the jungle. And the reason that the lion is the king of the jungle is for one reason and one reason only. It's mindset. It's the mindset of the lion that makes it the king of the jungle.
For your consideration for outstanding lifestyle and self-help podcasts, The Sky's the Limit Beyond the Deal podcast is hosted by Dee Brown and produced by ForbesBooksRadio and Joe Perdabella. Dee Brown is the president and CEO of the P3 Group, Inc., the largest African-American real estate development company in the nation that focuses exclusively on public-private partnerships. Dee Brown is a member of Forbes Business Council, a former member of Forbes Real Estate Council, the recipient of the National Bar Association's Congressional Black Caucus Corporate Philanthropy Award, a recipient of the U.S. Minority Contractors Association Thurgood Marshall Legacy Award, and is the National Policy Advisor on Public-Private Partnerships and Urban Redevelopment for the National Bar Association's president. Dee Brown is also the owner of Self-Made, his 100-feet luxury super yacht, which is the inspiration and an important part of the Dee Brown CEO brand. To learn more about Dee, visit www.deebrownCEO.com or Google Dee Brown CEO.
Forbes Books presents The Sky's the Limit with host Dee Brown, the president and CEO of the P3 Group, the nation's largest minority, public-private partnership real estate developer. Here's Dee.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Sky's the Limit. I'm your host, Dee Brown. Today, I'm going to mix it up a little bit, and I'm going to be interviewed by my producer, Joe Perdabella. So now, I'm going to turn the show over to Joe.
But let's step back. Again, why real estate? I mean, you mentioned your uncle. What is it about? Because that's the one thing I'm really nosy about, because I see a lot of people in it. There's real estate companies that come in every shape, form, or size. But what does it do for you? Like, what does it do to your spirit, like your being? Why do you love it so much?
I love what I do because we're doing not just your typical real estate transactions. We are actually impacting communities. We're impacting the quality of life for individuals in those communities. And so the projects that we're delivering through our P3 model bring about a sense of pride, bring about legacy building, not just for us or myself as a company, but also for the elected officials and administrations that are, shepherding these projects forward. So these are game changers. For example, we are constructing a health unit in Jefferson County, Arkansas. Now, the existing facility has mold, mildew. It's raining in the building. Workers have gotten sick from occupying that building. So this facility is a game changer. They not only provide safe and sanitary working conditions for the employees, they're also providing good quality health care for the citizens of that community. So when we deliver public safety, fire, police, healthcare facilities to these communities, these are vital programs that the citizens need to be safe and secure and healthy within their communities. This week, my guest is best-selling author and philanthropist, John Hope Bryant. John advocates for economic empowerment through his nonprofit, Operation Hope, and is the founder of the Promise Homes Company, one of the largest minority-controlled owners of single-family residential rental property in the U.S. John, welcome to The Sky's the Limit.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. Love the title of your podcast.
Thank you. Hey, man, look, we're happy to have you here, and we want to get into the show. So I want to start off by asking you, I've watched you on television, obviously, and read a lot about you, and you often you've been referred to as the conscience of capitalism. And you've told even presidential candidates that you have contributed your success to capitalism. You're the second guest on my podcast, actually, who has expressed a profound appreciation for capitalism. The other one is Warren Stevens. Talk to me about your love of capitalism.
Capitalism is actually a horrible system, except for every other system. It's similar to democracy in that regard. It's like, it's just really not a great system, except that every other system is horrible. I'm getting some T-shirts made now that says Black Capitalists Matter. It's flying in the face of the perception that, particularly in the Black community in particular, that money is evil. No. The Bible says the love of money is evil.
Right. That's right.
This is part of, Malcolm X's famous quote, "We've been bamboozled, we've been tricked, we've been fooled." Ambassador Andrew Young said that Dr. King's right arm in the civil rights movement, on that balcony with Dr. King when he was assassinated, my mentor,
right,
would say today, to live in a system of free enterprise and not to understand the rules of free enterprise must be the very definition of slavery. We escaped physical slavery, physical bondage in 1865, but then we were graduated into debt enslavement because we didn't have the memo on how money works or how wealth creation works. The Freedmen's Bank of 1865, March, was run by another capitalist after Lincoln's assassination called Frederick Douglass. Now, people listening to this might be historians and go, "Oh, Frederick Douglass was an abolitionist." Well, the only reason he's able to do that is because he owned $6 million worth of real estate and he rented it out
right,
to working class blacks, which gave him financial freedom. So all money is freedom. That's all it really is. It's freedom to go, move, do when you want, what you want, whoever you want, however you want. And capitalism is an opportunity for you to self-actualize yourself, to achieve generational wealth, accumulate some money, wealth more than money. Those two things are different.
right.
And gives you options in life. You can't, I think the short version of what I'm saying is that the last movement was in the streets, and that was civil rights.
I'm honored to be joined by a member of hip hop royalty. He's a legendary music mogul, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. He has so much to talk about, and we have so little time. So let's get into it. Percy Miller, aka Master P, welcome to The Sky's the Limit. I want to start off by asking you, I know that highly successful people all seem to have that pivotal moment in our life where one decision can change the rest of our life. And yours seemingly happened back in the 90s when you turned down a huge offer to sell your record label. That decision not to sell your label led to you building your empire. Do you ever think back on that day and wonder what would your life be like if you had taken that deal?
Yeah, I mean, if I'd taken that deal, I would have been an artist. I'd probably be a platinum artist. But, during that time, a lot of the artists really wasn't making revenue off of their projects. That was the change that I seen, that we needed to be able to really take care of families. And the only way I was going to do that is through ownership and create my own brand and my own company, which I created, No Limit Records. And the deal that was offered to me, it was a bad deal. I would have got $1 million, but that's all I would have received. And I want people to understand that no deal is too big. I know growing up in poverty, coming from the struggle, everybody think $1 million. $1 million to what somebody gonna make off of you. So imagine that's pennies to what these companies was gonna make off of me. What I was able to do as a young person, making Forbes top 40, Fortune under 40, which is incredible at that time, coming from the ghetto, knowing that I would never did that if I had signed that deal. And I never would be able to have the sustainability that I have now and be able to feed not only my family, but so many other families. I was able to create so many other millionaires. And I know I just would have had an artist deal, and that's what my career would have ended at.
Thanks for joining me for the conclusion of my talk with C. David Moody Jr. David, in part one, we talked about how you've built one of the largest African-American owned construction companies in America, thanks to your involvement in projects like Mercedes-Benz Stadium and the Ray Charles Performing Arts Center. And now I want to shift over to your philanthropic efforts. You founded the C.D. Moody Foundation to provide assistance to students who want to venture into construction and entrepreneurship. And so far, you've awarded over 80 scholarships. Can you tell me more about it? You also run a blog and
Yep.
moodyspeaks.com. And
Yes.
so I would be remiss if I didn't mention your blog. And I know you created it as a resource for victims of sexual abuse. And I also know you have a goal to build an advocacy center to help treat victims of childhood sexual abuse, especially those who are now in adulthood but struggling from the trauma. And obviously, we know each other, and I follow you on LinkedIn. And I see you often talk openly and candidly about your childhood sexual abuse. And so I wanted to touch on this subject because I know that we probably have listeners who have suffered from similar situations, who may or may have in the past suffered from the trauma of that abuse. And I think hearing from someone of your caliber who have overcome all the trauma, become successful, may actually help them. And so would you kind of share with me your goals in running your blog and opening this advocacy center?
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. I didn't start speaking publicly to 2012. But what happened, I came along in time period, you didn't talk about it, you just buried it. But little did I know what it was doing to me to bury such a trauma. To the point that in 1992, our business was 4 years old. We were winning all kind of awards and things were really going well. And my wife learned someone close to her had been sexually abused as a child. And I just blurted it out that it happened to me. And I thought it was okay. But within a few months, I started having panic attacks really bad. And to the point I had a complete nervous breakdown, but I couldn't tell anyone. I had to suffer in silence and I had to try and keep running my business. And that's another one of those moments where I know there is a God, because I should have been in the hospital getting help, but I was able to keep working. But I was a basket case emotionally and I suffered in silence. And 30 years after that, in 2012, I finally decided, and actually it was the Jerry Sandusky situation at Penn State that made me start speaking up, because I went, nobody should have to suffer in silence anymore. And it's not for everybody to speak up who's a survivor, but I just felt it was something I needed to do. And I started a website called moodyspeaks.com. This is a place for survivors of childhood sexual abuse can go and get information, read positive stories from other survivors. There's an estimated 42 million survivors just in the United States. Unfortunately, 1 in 10 children before the age of 18 will be sexually abused, and 90% of predators is someone in the family or close to the family. I was sexually abused by a male babysitter, the oldest son of our regular babysitter. He was 18. So, the trauma is real, but I also try and help others realize we can turn trauma into triumph.
This week, I have the pleasure of interviewing the CEO and co-founder of Mobu Enterprises, Jessica Lewis. Jessica is a self-made businesswoman and serial entrepreneur from Philly. Jessica and her team hope to revolutionize the real estate industry by developing affordable housing projects out of shipping containers. Jessica, welcome to The Sky's the Limit. Now, you talked about projects having an impact on the community, and so that kind of resonates with me because, our motto is that we do good by doing good. And so we look at projects where they actually impact the community. So talk to me a little bit about the impact of the projects that you're doing.
Definitely. And for us, it's the same. We feel like the projects that we do should be solving problems and not just be about money. So a good friend of mine's, Cara Presley, she's gave me the quote of impact over income. And so for us, it is encompassed with our actual build outs, with our training programs. We have pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs that specifically help previously incarcerated and veterans become self-sufficient through entrepreneurship and, of course, green construction training. And then also within that training, we're building our communities one unit at a time. So our projects are focused in vulnerable communities. We go where people don't want to live, work, and play. and we make them beautiful again and make them want to come back, live, work, and play. And so with that, we've been successful in being able to not only grow our model, or I call it employee-owned model, where everyone will eventually become franchise owners, but we also help our communities become beautiful again by reversing gentrification and, of course, building up communities that were once considered undesirable.
I'm incredibly honored to have Warren Stevens as my first guest. Warren is one of the most successful American businessmen in the last 35 years. He's the chairman, president, and CEO of the Little Rock-based investment bank, Stevens Inc. And on his watch, his company has grown from a single location to offices around the globe. Warren, welcome to the podcast. Now, Warren, there's an amazing video on YouTube that captures the moment you were named the CEO of Stevens Inc. This was back in 1986 on your 29th birthday. What do you remember about that day?
Well, it's almost a miracle that video even exists. Actually, our oldest son, Miles, found it looking through some old interviews and whatnot that we had. I didn't know it existed, but it was obviously a great day for me, but it was odd in the sense I didn't really know what was going on. Harriet and I had been out of town, and I got this very opaque call that said, "Hey, you need to get back. There's going to be a company-wide meeting at 7 or 7:30 in the morning, and you got to be there." And I was going, "Okay, what's going on?" And basically nobody would tell me. So when I went, I knew something was up. I didn't know what it was, and then Dad named me the CEO, which at age 29 was too early to do. But I think he was still there, very much involved, and my uncle was too. So they figured if I messed up, they could come in and either straighten me out or straighten up the mistakes I made. But my wife Harriet wasn't even there because I didn't know what to tell her. I didn't know what it was about, and she was pregnant. And so I went back to the office and I called her and I said, "You're not going to believe this." So she was delighted when our oldest found this video because she'd never even seen it.
Joining me this week is Nathaniel Clark, the managing partner of Chasm Architecture. Nate founded the company in 2005, and Chasm has become a top-notch, full-service design firm headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. Nate, welcome to The Sky's the Limit. I've often heard you say that good leaders must also be great followers. Some people might have trouble understanding the logic behind this. Why is this so important to you?
Well, I think if you're smart, then you have great people within your circle who challenge you. If you're always the smartest person in the room, then you can't grow. And everything about me is about exponential growth. I want, even in my firm, I tell everyone that, listen, you have a voice. Everybody has a voice, even down to the janitor has a voice. And I think that's so important when you're grooming people for leadership. You can't dismantle someone's voice or not listen to the things that they have to say, because you can always learn from someone else. And even in sports, right? In sports, in business, or any competition, the only way you get stronger is to play with stronger players. So I always want to include very strong people around me. I want to grow those around me as well. And then there's the trust side that's associated with that growth. I may not always be the youngest or the brightest, but sometimes you can learn things from people that have much less experience than you. And then you have to be willing to follow their leadership, even though they don't have the same level of experience. And I think when you're doing that, that's how you see these companies grow exponentially. Like, I can't write code. There are some very smart people out there that can write code that we should all be listening to about certain things within that space. So, followership is underrated. Everybody wants to be a leader. Everybody talks about being a leader, but the best part of a company are the folks that are following. And even as a leader within my firm, I find myself following my team when it comes to technology and the other things that we need to implement in order to make us a robust architectural firm.
Joining me this week on The Sky's the Limit is Elsa Brown. Elsa is the president and CEO of Contractor. a 100% woman-owned construction company with offices in DeSoto, San Antonio, and Universal City, Texas. Elsa, welcome to The Sky's the Limit. You are a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. And of course, I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. And sororities and fraternities play a significant role in the lives of many people around the world. What role does your sorority play in your personal and professional life?
Thank you for that acknowledgement. And yes, I am an AKA, very proud AKA for New Beta chapter of Georgia Tech. When I went to Georgia Tech, unbeknownst to me at that time, when I was a senior in high school, the local chapter of AKAs actually gave me a $1,000 scholarship to go to Georgia Tech. That $1,000 was the money that I used on my move to Atlanta. So that was 3 years before I pledged. To give you an idea that the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated were backing me up even when I didn't even understand what I was getting myself into. At Georgia Tech, there's a very small pool of women, and obviously there's also a very small pool of Black women. So it was a privilege to be selected and incorporated into the organization. And through the years, since I went to an engineering school, pretty much all my sorority sisters are engineers. So for me, Black women in engineering and sciences is a normal thing because my chapter is all engineers. All of my sorority sisters pretty much are working in the sciences and mathematics and management and have done fantastic in their professional lives. So for me, it has been a cradle of embracing us, of making sure that we understand that we can move forward. And I'm going to tell you a little story. One of my things that I understood is I actually read the book Hidden Figures, not just the movie, but read the book. And the person who pinned me at Georgia Tech was mentioned in that book, okay, Dr. Darden. Her daughter is my line sister. And so I then understood that what I am today, the engineering, architecture, sciences, the love that I received from the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha when I was a very young person have definitely imprinted in me to what I am today. So thank you so much to all my sisters.
This has been The Sky's the Limit with Dee Brown. To find out more about Dee, go to dbrownCEO.com or Google Dee Brown CEO. And to connect with the P3 Group, check out thep3groupinc.com. The Sky's the Limit is a production of Self-Made Dee Brown CEO.